Welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, where Kay Nicole delivers a daily dose of inspiration by discussing passion, purpose, and struggle with people who are living their best life doing what they love. Here's Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today I have Justin Reese. He is a civil litigation personal injury attorney, and he also does some professional sports planning, and he also is a cast member of Southern Charm New Orleans. Welcome, Justin. Thank you for joining me today.
Nicole, thank you so much. Such a pleasure and an honor, and I greatly appreciate you having me on today.
Awesome. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
You know, I did not think I was going to be a lawyer, to be quite honest. I grew up wanting to be a doctor.
Wow.
And that was my goal through high school. When I first got to college, I was like, in high school, I was pretty good at science. And let me tell you what's funny. We do the ACT in Louisiana more so than the SAT, and it's 4 sections. And on the science section, I got like a 32 out of 36, where everything else was just like in the high teens, low 20s. I was like, okay, I got this science thing down. And sure enough, when I got to college, I realized that science was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And so, unfortunately, I just kind of kept passing my classes, and I wasn't what I felt was going to be competitive enough to try and get into med school. So being a lawyer was actually my plan B.
Wow, that is so interesting. So what about law made you feel confident, like I could do that?
Well, one of the things, I grew up in it. My father has been, he was a practicing attorney. I mean, before I was even born, he became a judge when I was a freshman in college. So, I mean, I was exposed to law my entire life. And, I'm just like my father. He always told me, son, I don't know how you do some of the things you do, but you've been blessed with the gift of gab. So you need to use it to your advantage. And I was like, well, I have no problem talking to people. I have no problem public speaking. So I guess I can go be a trial attorney and try and convince people of my position and to give me stuff. So let me go ahead and try this route.
Wow, that is so interesting. So during your journey to becoming an attorney, what would you say was your biggest hurdle?
Actually, what a lot of people don't realize this about me, I've been very blessed. So far, I've been I've been doing great things in my career, but I actually had a tough time passing the bar. I didn't realize I had issues with test taking, and it didn't really kind of show itself until I got to that stage in my life, because I'd always overcompensate. In college and even in law school, I just figured it just took me longer to do stuff. And so that was one of my biggest hurdles. I had a tough time passing the bar. And when I finally got it figured out, I passed, and then I just hit the ground running after that.
I like that you said that, because that's a big thing. Sometimes people can do really well in school, and then when they take a test, they freeze, or they just don't get the best score. So
it was definitely mind-boggling, because I would have my study groups when we were all studying for the bar, and you'd have maybe 2 or 3 other people in your study group that you trust, and that we're going to all share work and help each other. Well, I actually took pleasure in teaching a lot of the materials, because that's what also taught me the materials themselves. And I remember going over the bar materials and standing up in front of my little group and teaching everybody stuff. And then when it comes time to take the test, the people I was studying with went on to pass. And I was like, man, I taught them everything and they went past. So I don't have the right information. There's something else going on. And I'm going to tell you, it was actually incredible. I had a very close friend of mine who's in my study group, and she's just such a sweetheart. And she, to this day, she's like, Justin, you're the reason why I passed the bar. You taught me everything. And I remember when she passed, she started crying. And it wasn't because she was happy. She was sad that I didn't pass, because she was like, you did everything for me. This should be you. And so, like I said, again, once I got over that hurdle, I just literally hit the ground running. And it's not indicative of the type of lawyer that you're going to be, because like I said, I knew the information. It was just different trying to put it on paper under a timed scenario. Whereas a lawyer, I can space my work out, I can plan ahead, and and get everything done, and not have to worry about time deadlines like that.
Yeah, very important. So the message there is just because you fail a test once, it doesn't mean that you should give up. You should continue until you get that score that you're looking for or that you need. And it doesn't determine how well you're going to do that job.
I completely agree. Look, I get it. School tests out there because they have to have some type of measurement or scale to show ability. They have to do something. But at the end of the day, your work product speaks for itself. I tell people all the time, like, look, yes, I had a tough time passing the bar. But fast forward that, I'm a partner at my law firm. I was just nominated and inducted to the top 40 under 40 trial lawyers association. I just literally today just settled a case for right at $1 million, and that had nothing to do with my test taking ability.
Well, congratulations. That is awesome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So, what do you enjoy the most about your work as an attorney?
So what I do is personal injury law. And so I represent people that have been hurt in various types of accidents. And look, some of these injuries can be very catastrophic and can really, hinder people, whether they're working, living, what they're trying to take care of their families. And they come to me to literally help them put the pieces back together, to help them figure out their next move in life, and to also help set up their future. It's my job to try and go get, people their medical bills paid for the present and the future. And then if they're unable to work, to try and secure the money that's going to take care of them and their families. And what has been the most rewarding is, I did this a long time ago. I stopped trying to chase the money and truly started focusing on my clients and what their needs were. And I saw that once I did that, and the rewards that we got and seeing it in their faces and them thanking me and like, Justin, you just helped us out so much. You just changed my family's life. You saved our lives. That is the most rewarding because look, my job can be very stressful. And once I see that satisfaction from the clients, that's what makes it that much more rewarding and that much more special. It makes me want to get up and do it every day.
Yeah, I agree because I was a paralegal. So I know how, I know how all that stuff works. And It can be very stressful. And when I was doing that kind of work, I was like, oh, I think I would like to be an attorney. And then I saw how much work they had to do, how much reading they had to do. And I was like, oh, hell no, this is not for me. So let me, sit
It's
down.
definitely a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I was like, yeah, that's not for me. What do you enjoy least about your work?
I will say what I enjoy least is sometimes, and look, I love my clients and I'm there to help them, but I think sometimes they start to freak out and they lose sight of what's important, and trying to play counselor can be very difficult. It can be very emotionally taxing. I definitely put myself out there because I have to take care of them, but it's hard because sometimes that stuff comes home with me, and, knowing that a client is freaking out and is upset and that, they're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to pay my house note? How am I going to take care of this? I've got children that I've got to take care of. They start kind of dumping, a lot of those burdens on you. But, in addition to being lawyers, sometimes you also have to be therapists. It comes with the territory. So, I've got to try to find balance even within myself and try not to carry, because sometimes I tend to get very emotional about the cases and I carry some of that burden with me. And I've got to learn not to. I'm still learning to try and let some of that go.
Yeah, that's got to be difficult. So if you could give a college student who is thinking of going to law school some advice, what would you tell them?
First and foremost, I would tell them, follow the money. If you get a scholarship, follow the money. Law school debt can be very astronomical. You can literally walk out of law school owning a house without owning a house. And a very nice house at that. Do not get caught up with the U.S. News rankings. Everybody says, oh, I want to, this school is ranked this school is ranked that. I'm going to tell you, out of the 10 years that I've been practicing law, I have, I rarely, if ever, have a client ask me what law school did I go to. The only thing that they care about is, am I a practicing attorney? Am I capable of handling their case? And can I get them a great result? The other thing I would say to them is, try to find a law school where you think you may want to practice, because as a student, you're going to find yourself being a part of different organizations at the law school. You're going to find yourself interacting with lawyers that are local in that area, and you're going to start building relationships. And those are the people that may want to give you a job in the future. So, sometimes those networks and building that can also help set you up for your future, as well.
Yes. I love that you said that about following the scholarship money, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about, college. I mean, everybody, yeah, you want your kids to go to this great school and, whatever. But at the end of the day, you need to think about that money that you're going to spend, and is it
Yes,
really worth
yes.
it?
Save that money, because I can tell you there's a big difference when you're coming out of law school and you're trying to live and pay back student loans. More often than not, the average student loan repayment from law school is anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a month. I mean, as a first year lawyer, as associate, that is essentially your rent, or even maybe your first mortgage payment. Now that you got to pay mortgage and rent on top of that as well, that's preventing you from saving. That's preventing you from saving for retirement, or even investing in other things to diversify your portfolio. If you have the ability to walk out debt free, that can set you up for so many more opportunities and possibilities.
Yes. Amen. So, if you could give someone advice who is about to graduate law school, something about getting into the workforce, what advice would you give them?
Now that we're so much in a social media, in a digital age, your resume is now LinkedIn. So everybody that's a professional needs to have a LinkedIn account, and it needs to be nothing like you do on Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook. It needs to be strictly professional. You need to have your profile set up like you literally would set up your resume. And now I'm finding that just like how we put content on Instagram and how we put content on Facebook and these other platforms, putting out your business content on LinkedIn is a very great way to show the type of professional you are, the knowledge you have about your expertise and what it is that you do for a living, for other professionals and other networks to see. I highly recommend that law students do that. As well as, I mean, one of the biggest things that you can do, not only show that a potential employer that you can work hard and get their work done. A lot of employers want to know, do you even have the ability to bring in business? So if you're scared of talking to people, maybe do some type of, workshops where you're working on public speaking, where you're working on going to like different events where you can just start, bringing up conversations and how to do them and how to network with folks, because a lot of that will go a very long way. I can tell you any employer, they're going to love that you're going to be able to do a great job for them, but they want to know if you not only can do a great job, but if you can bring in business, that's the type of person that I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, tell us about your interest in sports and how you turned this passion into, a part of your career.
So I used to play football myself. I played in high school. I played a little bit when I was in college at Morehouse. And I've just always had a love for football. And, when I was coming out of law school, I started practicing law, started doing personal injury. And I really wasn't even thinking about being a sports agent. And one of my really good friends, he's like a big brother to me. He's a practicing attorney. And he was a sports agent. Well, he still is a sports agent. And he was the one that was convincing me. He was like, Justin, you play football. And at the time, I'm 26, 27 years old. So a lot of my friends are literally still in the NFL in the prime of their careers. And he's like, all of these guys, you're friends with all of these guys. You need to be representing these guys. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Plus, I miss being around football. So that's how I kind of wound up getting into the sports agency field.
Wow. So as a sports agent, what is your responsibility?
So as a sports agent, it's my job to, help guys when they're coming out of college. Just start with the graduating classes, preparing for the NFL draft. Is I help them, wherever they want to train to get prepared for the NFL Combine and or their college pro day. I talk to the different teams on their behalf. We focus on what their game films are, talk about what their strengths are, just doing everything that I can to market to the 32 NFL teams for draft weekend. And then from there, hopefully they get drafted. We do the contract. If they don't get drafted, I'm doing my best to try and get them signed as a priority free agent. For the guys that are veterans, it's my job to try and renegotiate their contracts with their respective NFL teams. If that doesn't work out, then I look for other teams to sign them with in free agency and negotiate those deals for them. And then the biggest thing is to be a mentor to these guys. I mean, look, these are young guys, they're 22, 23, 24 years old. They're coming fresh out of college and they're making, money will essentially be in the top 5% of the United States. And that's a big responsibility. So, I have to play big brother, I don't think I'm quite dad yet, but play big brother and, try and give them guidance, sound advice. I definitely make sure that, I get them lined up with a financial planner to help them plan so that way they're not blowing all of their money. I do my best to make sure that they're on the straight and narrow. I help them with whatever city that they're in to get set up. So, I mean, I wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I'm glad you said that part about the financial planner because I was gonna ask you, are you hooking them up with financial advice or classes? Because, I'm always reading in the news how someone had this much money from all these contracts and now they have nothing or they. So I feel like that is so important for them to get that type of education.
No, absolutely. So I do not give them like direct, like hyper specific financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
But I have relationships with financial advisors from some of the most reputable companies that we know, like JP Morgan Chase or whether it's Morgan Stanley or even some of the smaller individual private companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, hey, look, these are guys that I have relationships with. These are guys that I know and trust. Here's a list of 3 or 4 guys. Let's sit down and meet with the 3 or 4. We'll let them pitch to you and tell them what their financial plan is for you, for your life and for your career and for your wants and needs. And then you take it from there. And you got to make a big boy decision to see who's going to be in the best interest for you. So that's how I like to set it up because, a lot of times with these guys, sometimes they want you to do everything, even all the way up to paying your bills. And I feel like at some point, as a man, you have to be responsible. And so I try to put a little bit more responsibility on them just for their own good,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it must really help that you are also an attorney for doing things like renegotiating contracts and, all of those legal aspects of the job. So if regular sports agents, they would have to hire an attorney to kind of put those pieces together, but because you are already an attorney, you can do both. Is that correct or am I off
Well,
base?
so no, yes and no. So, I mean, having a legal background, I think it puts me at an advantage because I understand contract law.
Mm-hmm.
But just like with anything goes, there's and I don't want to take anything away. There's some really good sports agents out there who do not have a legal background, who do not have a law degree, and are doing great work.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just having the understanding and knowledge of the game and knowing the rules of the collective bargaining agreement. You can still negotiate and structure a contract, that's advantageous for your client. And a lot of guys have been doing this for long enough now to where they have the experience because we all know experience goes a long way as well.
Yep.
So, I don't want to take anything away from those guys out there who do not have a law degree and doing great things. But I do think the fact that I have one, I feel like it does put me in a little bit of an advantage because I can understand how contracts are, at least breaking them down to its fundamental elements, how they're formed and what their intentions are.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. I was just trying to, understand that.
Yeah, of course.
So you do a lot. Do you feel like you are sacrificing anything right now to do all that you do to kind of, live your best life and chase all your dreams and your passions?
One of the things that I do not get a chance to do often is take long vacations, unfortunately. I'm not saying I don't go anywhere because I do travel quite a bit. But, I look at a lot of my friends and I see some of the places that they're going. And I'm like, wow, man, I got friends that are going to Thailand and Bali, and they're going hanging out in the Mediterranean in the summertime. And, to do those kind of trips, you need a minimum of like 10 days. Sometimes they do 2 weeks. And unfortunately, I have not taken a vacation longer than probably like a long weekend, like one of those 4-day weekends in like almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks, but you're
Yep.
you're still living your best life. So
I am. And look, God has blessed me. I'm doing well. Like I said, I still get to go places now. Like, look,
yeah,
just this year alone, I've been to Vegas twice. I've been to Orlando. I've been to LA. So I get a chance to travel quite a bit. I just don't get those long, relaxing vacations.
yeah, you got to
Yeah.
make time for at least one of those.
I gotta do
Yeah.
I gotta do one. Exactly.
Yeah, it's fun. I love vacation. So, what is the best advice that you have ever received regarding your career, and who gave it to you?
I would say probably, as far as my career is concerned, probably my dad. My dad used to always tell me, son, just continue to work hard. In the legal profession, it's very stressful. He said, just leave every day knowing you did the best that you could do every single day, and don't freak out about tomorrow. One thing he said, if you ever catch up on your work, you're actually in trouble. It made me think about that. I was like, you know what? That's a problem. Yeah. If I'm ever truly caught up on my work, that means I don't have enough to do. And if I don't have enough to do, then I won't be able to pay my bills. So I would probably say my dad.
Okay, I like it. So, when you enter a room and you introduce yourself and have a conversation with a group of people that you don't know, what do you want them to remember about you or say about you once you're gone, like you've left the room or.
One of the things that I take pride in is being genuine when I'm having conversations with people. Whether we're talking about work, whether we're talking about personal things like family, interest. When I'm asking people questions, I am truly being sincere because, I want to get to know the person that I'm talking to, that I may potentially be building a relationship with. And when I leave that conversation, I want that person to know that, wow, that guy, Justin, he was such a good guy. I could tell he's hardworking, but he was very humble. He was very sincere, and he was very genuine. That's the impressions that I want to leave on people.
Yes, I love authenticity. That is it. I can't stand fake people. It's just terrible.
There's no need for it. I mean, I think everybody has something to offer, and just be real about it. It will always shine through because people can always see, when you're not being real and when you're trying to fake the funk and be something that you're not. Authenticity goes such a long way, and I think it gets you so much further.
Yep, I agree. So this is the Oh Hell No podcast, and I always ask my guests to share an Oh Hell No moment. And an Oh Hell No moment is a moment of shock or disbelief. It could be shared with someone. It could be experienced by yourself. It could be a good moment. It could be a bad moment. An example of an Oh Hell No moment would be you get to work, and this is just a basic one. I use this often. You get to work, you sit down, you're really busy. Your boss comes up to you and says, hey, can you pick up my dry cleaning for me? And you're like, oh, hell no. That's not a part of my job, So that's an oh, hell no moment. So I want you to share an oh, hell no moment that you've experienced through, your professional career that has taught you something or changed your perspective on something.
I want to take this oh hell no moment all the way back to law school because I
Okay.
think that I still laugh at this to this day. So when I was in law school, I was doing what's called clinical work, where you actually under the Louisiana Supreme Court, you get to actually practice law under a supervising attorney.
Wow.
And so I was practicing law as an assistant district attorney at the DA's office, and I had started in the summer prior. So, long story short, when the fall semester started, all the senior ADAs had said, "Oh, Justin, I've seen his work. He does good. He's already tried cases. He knows what he's doing." So I get to first day. I'm walking in the courtroom. I get to my section leader, and the section leader was like, "Justin, oh, that's great. I'm glad you're in my section. I've got to go to Baton Rouge and testify in front of legislature. You've got a trial in 10 minutes. I need you to go read the file." I
Mm.
was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Who's the defendant?" He was like, "I don't remember, but the file is on the table." I was like, "What did he do?" "Felon with a firearm." "Oh, that's only a felony that carries a 10-year sentence."
Oh.
"Oh, hell no. You want me to try this case in 10 minutes and I know nothing about it?"
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. So what did you do?
So I read through that file profusely for 10 for it felt like, well, for 5 minutes, but it felt like the shortest 5 minutes of my entire life, reading through the police report, talking to the police officers as fast as I could to try and get something together. And then I finally get the defense attorney says, "Hey man, can you talk to the section leader, see if maybe we could plead this out?" And I said, "What are you thinking?" And he gave me a number. I went back and talked, and we wound up pleading the case out. And I didn't have to try it. But I was literally about to try a felon with a firearm case on a file that I had never looked at, didn't even know the guy's name, and I had 10 minutes to prepare.
Oh my gosh. Now, yeah, that's a serious oh hell no moment. That is crazy. So, what do you think about how Kim Kardashian is getting her law degree? I never knew that you could do that.
Only certain states allow you to do that. And California is one of the few states that allows you to have what's called an apprenticeship. Every other state, not every other state, but the majority of the states require you to go to law school.
Wow.
Yeah. She's definitely going about it the very long way, though.
Oh,
I think the apprenticeship is like 5 years or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's a little bit longer than your traditional 3-year law school curriculum.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will say this though, a lot of times, look, a lot of people they say whatever they want about Kim Kardashian, but the one thing I can say that I've admired about her, especially more recently, is she's used her platform to actually try and help criminal justice and criminal justice reform. And so if she's in that position to do some very good and very positive with her platform and with her influence, well then by all means, Kim, you keep doing it.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm a fan. I like her. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's great that she is using her platform to do some work to help people that need it. So, that's always amazing. And guess what, Justin? You are amazing too. So,
I appreciate that. Trying to do a little something over here. Trying to do a little something.
you are doing your thing, and I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast and talking to us about your career. You shared some great advice, and I'm sure someone will benefit from all the gems that you dropped on this show today. So thank you.
Well, look, again, Nicole, it was my absolute pleasure. Before I became a lawyer, I actually taught for a year, so I just love teaching and, explaining things and helping and giving information. So whenever I can do that, if it fills my heart, fills my soul, and I just want to do it all the time.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show.